completed SKM, which is the simple Keynesian model, which relates to equilibrium in the goods market. So what do I mean by goods market? Goods market is where there is only, we're only talking about goods, and we're only talking about purchase and sale of goods. Okay, so we are only talking about that. So this is equilibrium in the goods market. And in SKM, if you remember that we were talking about only one single variable, which is output. Okay, there was no other variable, only one single variable, output. So by no other variable, I mean that all other variables which are generally variable are like P, exchange rate, rate of interest, they generally change, right? But in SKM, we had kept all of them constant. Okay, we had kept nothing moving except output. Only output can change, and output changed in response to demand. Right, so output only changed in response to demand. So we've done a very small part of the whole model. We've looked at only the demand side of the whole thing. We've not looked at the supply side. We looked at only the demand side, and we've only seen how demand affects equilibrium output. And then in conclusion, we saw that increase in demand lead to increase in output, right? This is what we saw, that increase in demand led to increase in output, and hence then we looked at fiscal and monetary policy. Sorry, not monetary policy. We just looked at fiscal policy to increase demand. So we looked at fiscal policy as a means to increase demand. So this is what we did in the simple Keynesian model. Now we need to go to the ISLM model. So this ISLM model has two parts, the IS curve and the LM curve, right? So what is new in this model? How is it better over the SKM model? So the first thing is that the ISLM model, it introduces the monetary system. Right? So the ISLM model, the ISLM curve introduces the monetary system. So what is the monetary system? Now, in the SKM, we've just assumed that there are goods which are bought and sold. Now, how are these goods bought and sold? That's a question, right? Where are they bought and sold? How are these goods bought and sold? So typically they're bought and sold in markets, right? Earlier markets were all physical, now markets are all online. So goods are bought and sold in markets. How are they traded? They are traded through money, right? How is money generated? When money is generated, how does the production of money keep up with the demand for money? So demand for money can crop up today, right? But the production of money has to come before that, right? So how does this demand for money keep with the supply of money? Does that have to do with anything? Okay, is it a purely transactionary variable, or does that variable have more impact on the economy? So there are many things which have to be discussed when you go into the depth of things. So in SKM, we didn't go into anything. We just assumed that there was a goods market and goods were bought based on demand. All right. Okay. So in the ISLM model, as I said, the improvement is that we are going to introduce this monetary system, which was earlier not there, and we are going to make the model a more realistic model, right? A more stronger model. Okay, so today I am going to do one part of this ISLM model, and the first part of it, which is the IS curve. So we start with this because this builds on the SKM. This builds on what we have already studied till now. Okay. So IS curve stands for investment saving curve. So what is the definition? Let's do the definition of IS curve. So the IS curve is basically, it's a curve which represents equilibrium in the goods market. And goods market is what? Goods market is basically an SKM model. It's the market in which goods are bought and sold. Okay, so IS curve is basically a curve which represents equilibrium in the goods market, and the goods market is purely the GDP part, right? The part where production happens and goods are bought and sold. So what is the difference between SKM and ISLM then? They both represent equilibrium in the goods market. So the difference between the two is that the SKM is a single variable model with the variable being only outputs, right? The ISLM is a two variable model with the variable being rate of interest and output. So in the ISLM, we have removed rate of interest as a constant term. Rate of interest has come as a variable. Okay, so the other variables like P and E, they are still kept as constant. Prices and exchange rate are still kept as constant, but the rate of interest and output are now variable. Okay, so we have an added dimension in the ISLM, that we have R as the rate of interest, which is variable. Okay, so now let's first derive the ISLM from the SKM. How are they different? Why are they different? What are we doing? Okay, so let's do a small recap of the SKM. So in the SKM, this is my graph. So let's say this is my SKM. This is ISLM. This is the graph again. Okay, so this is the curve for SKM, and yeah, yes, Bharti. And this is the other curve in SKM. So this was the demand curve, the aggregate demand curve, which was represented by C plus I plus G. And this opened up to C bar plus small c into Y plus I plus G. Okay. So now what in the SKM, what are we going to do? In the SKM, there was no rate of interest, right? So now I have to first introduce rate of interest into this model here. And then I'm going to push it into the ISLM model. So then the next question is, how do we introduce R in this model? How do we introduce the rate of interest, the interest rate at which at which lending and borrowing happens? How do we introduce that into this model? So we have to see how R influences C, I, and G. Is R dependent? Is R influencing consumption, investment, or government expenditure? Is it influencing anything? So the first question, the easiest one, is R influencing government expenditure? Does government, take the rate of interest into consideration before they decide how much I want to spend? Does government do that? Everyone, can you write in the chat box? Does government take into account the rate of interest, that oh, this is the market rate of interest? So does the government take that into account before it determines its rate of interest, its expenditure? So Rita Shri, of course, on a, if you think about it, of course, the government also has to borrow money. But because the government is also something that has a lot of money to its access, and it is also the creator of money, it doesn't really, look at the rate of interest in deciding how much to spend. Okay, so the government doesn't really take interest rate into consideration. So we can remove G. So G is not going to take R as a variable. Then let's come to the second one, consumption. As consumers, when we spend our money, do we think about the rate of interest? Put your answers in the chat box. When as consumers we spend money, do we think about the rate of interest? Divyanshi Anand has written yes. So when do you think about the rate of interest when you want to consume something, Divyanshi Anand? What do you buy? Hmm. Just think about it generally. Yes. Yes, Ritashree. That is correct. But I'm asking you to think just about it generally, that in generally as an individual, when you consume, do you think about the rate of interest while deciding to spend? Okay, so the general yeah, so okay, Rita, Shri, we'll discuss that later. But in general, when you're consuming, okay, let me say some things from my side. When you're consuming, if you have to buy a house, so today, as you a lot of you may not need to buy a house right now, but if in buying a house, rate of interest is of paramount consideration. But buying a house is an investment. Okay, so we don't look at that here in the consumption side. In general, when we're looking at consumption side, maybe you have to buy a laptop, maybe you have to buy a chair, maybe you have to buy food items, maybe you have to buy clothes. The general, day-to-day things, we don't consider the rate of interest. Yes, where rate of interest does come in is that if the rate of interest is high, and as a saver, you want to earn, you want to look at it as a financial investment. That rate of interest is high, let me save money so I get more returns in the future. So you want to increase your savings and you want to reduce your consumption. Yes, that is possible. But right now we are only taking that, we're not looking at that, we're looking at only from the point of view of a consumer, that as a consumer, do you really need to look at the rate of interest? So you could also argue there that, ma'am, even as a consumer, I have to look at the rate of interest, because આજકાલ everything has become EMI. You can even buy clothes on EMI. You can buy, like I was saying, laptop. You can buy that on EMI. Everything is becoming EMI. So credit card rate of interest, so many expenditures are now our credit cards. So credit card rate of interest is possible. So yes, modern world, we are spending so much consumerism, rate of interest is becoming more and more important. But in general, still, we are not going to put rate of interest as a function of consumption. Consumption is still going to be independent of the rate of interest. C bar plus small cy will be the, we will continue to take that as the consumption function. Okay. The last one is the investment. Okay, so this is clear. Consumption also, the argument can be made why consumption should be a function of rate of interest. Maybe some bits today is determined by the rate of interest, but in the ISLM, we still take it as that it's not a major factor, so we ignore it. That consumption is a function of what you minimum want to consume, C bar, and what is income. That what I have today, this is what I can spend. Even though, of course, this is, as we may have discussed in SKM, also very simplistic. You don't consume based on your current income. You also consume based on your future potential, but or what is your past savings. But this is a very simplistic thing, so we keep it at that. We don't really introduce more things in this. So consumption is still C bar plus small c into y. The middle variable, investment. Do we think that investment is determined by the rate of interest? Okay, Sneha, Paramita. Okay, so everybody thinks investment. How do you all know? None of you have invested ever. Why do you think investment is related to the rate of interest? आपने तो कभी इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया, तो आपको कैसे पता? How do you all know? You have not invested. You have never taken a loan, probably. You have not started a business. But in general, you have an idea, right? That so just as an example, investment interest rate is basically the cost of borrowing, as very rightly put. It's the cost of borrowing. Okay, so right now, investment rate of interest is the cost of borrowing. It's basically your compensation to the person who's saving and giving you the money, that he decided to save this money and not spend, so you're compensating him for that. So it's compensation to the person who's a saver. So that is basically the cost of borrowing. Now, at this point, I would also like to mention, since it is like the compensation, to the person who's saving, interest rate is the payment that you make to the person who's saving. So that is why it's the real rate of interest that investment is a function of. Okay, investment is a function of the real rate of interest. So one way to explain it would be, one easy way to explain it is that, see, inflation is anyways going to eat up a part of what is the value. So the real return is what you have to look at. What is the real return if I save or if I borrow? So the real return is the real rate of interest. So you have to, this is, so the real rate of interest is the nominal rate of interest minus inflation or expected inflation. Okay, so that is this is the real rate of interest, and investment is a function of the real rate of interest. Here, this is the difference, Lopamutra. Inflation, basically. So if the nominal interest rate is 8%, but inflation is 6%, so what you're earning in real is just 2%. And investment is a function of the real rate of interest. Okay, so so in terms of this explanation, in terms of the cost of borrowing, so to the person from whom you are borrowing the money, you're actually in real terms only giving him 2% return. Okay, so if the inflation is very high, the real rate, the nominal rate of interest will be high. So you can now connect these two, inflation and the interest rate. If inflation is very high, then the nominal rate of interest will be high, because the nominal rate of interest is the real rate of interest plus inflation. Just 1 minute, everyone. Okay, so now if the inflation is, let's say, 10%, prices are increasing steadily year on year, 10%, 10%, 10%, then of course nominal interest rate will be high, right? Because the savers, people who are saving money and who are giving it to you for investment, they will have to be compensated for this, because they are postponing their investment, they're postponing their own consumption or investment or whatever by 1 year. So inflation is anyways going to eat up a part of their what they get. So you have to pay them something more over the inflation. Okay, so which is why the when inflation is high, the rate of interest, the nominal rate of interest will always be higher. Is this clear? The relationship. So real rate of interest is basically the real return that a person gets when he saves money. The real return that he gets is R. That's the real rate of interest. Nominal rate of interest is the total return that he gets. Real rate of interest is net of inflation. So after subtracting for inflation, actually what he's just getting is R. Is this part clear to everyone? Is this part clear to everyone? So we are only going to look at the real rate of interest. Okay. So the real rate of interest is nominal rate of interest minus inflation, and investment is a function of the real rate of interest. What are you paying net of inflation? Because inflation तो आपको meet करना ही होगा. So net of inflation, what you're paying is what you have to look at. Okay, so investment, as a lot of you either know or you have understood that investment is related to the rate of interest. Rate of interest is the cost of borrowing. Some more trivia on what is investment and the real rate of invest. Some more trivia on this. Okay, so in India, the rate of interest is actually quite high. If you take a business loan, it's actually 13 to 15%, or maybe even more than that, depending on the kind of business that you run, depending on the amount of collateral that you can offer. So the business loan is very high. Now, think of these numbers, what these numbers mean. These numbers mean that from your business, you have to earn at least this much to just pay back to just pay interest. Principal is separate. Okay, so this is a very high number. In developed countries, this number is much less. It could be as low as 2% to maybe 4%, 5%. Okay, so there the interest rates are actually quite lower, and the reason is many reasons. The whole economy is a reason, the supply of money is a reason, inflation is a reason, stability is a reason. So a lot of reasons go into why this okay, this is the nominal interest rate, though, what I'm talking about. So yeah, so the reasons are a lot. There are many, but this actually makes business much more difficult. Okay, this actually makes conducting business much more difficult, because if you have to only pay 2%, 5%, you can also undertake risky operations. But in 13%, 15%, you can only undertake very safe businesses, because it's very difficult to take money in this amount and then try to repay it with the capital. It's very hard. Itna money to hota nahi hai in business. There's not so much return. So that's why you see that a lot of the innovation, because of interest, happens in developed countries, because people want to invest here. People will invest their money here because it's easy. Your rate of interest is lower, so they will obviously go to that country where rate of interest is lower. If you have a risky business and you have an innovation that you want to try out, because taking a loan at this amount is very difficult. So that shows us that investment is a direct function of the real rate of interest. Now, in general, the functional form that this takes is I bar. 1 minute. Is I bar minus BR. Okay, everyone, I'm going to just be back in a minute. You can just think about what I've talked about so far. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. So what I was saying was that so rate of interest and interest investment go opposite. Okay, if rate of interest is high, then investment is going to be low. If rate of interest is low, investment is going to be high. Okay. Okay, so the very simple functional form is that investment has this I bar constant value and then minus BR. So what is this I bar minus BR? This is the functional form. This is the fixed amount of investment independent of the rate of interest. R is the real rate of interest and B is the coefficient of investment with respect to the rate of interest. Or it can also be called like the multiplier. You can call this the multiplier. So DI by DR is actually minus B. So B is the multiplier. B is it basically shows you the magnitude. It shows you the impact. It shows you the magnitude of impact. It shows you the magnitude of impact that R has on investment. Okay, so you can think about this yourself now. If B is high, then what will happen? If B is low, then what will happen? What does high B indicate? What does low B indicate? What does high B indicate? What does low B indicate? Slope of the investment function, correct? So a high B would mean what? Intuitively, what does a high B? B is a coefficient. What does a high B mean? What does a low B mean? Not no Srividhi. Yes, and Mesha, perfect. So a high B as in Mesha has written, a high B means that investment is more responsive to rate of interest. Okay. Yes, sensitivity to rate of interest. So a B indicates sensitivity to rate of interest. High B is more sensitive to rate of interest. Low B is less sensitive to rate of interest. Right? Yes, others. So high B means that even if the if change in R is less, okay, if let's say there's a small change in R, so assume karte hain, rate of interest went up by like 0.1%. Okay, so small change, but B is very high. So the reaction of investment to the small change will be very high. The sensitivity is going to be very high. So a small increase in R also is going to lead to a large fall in investment. Yeah, so everybody's clear with this? So this is the simple investment function. I bar investment is a function of I bar minus B into R. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we're going to go back here. Okay. So we are going to go back and how we are going to how that is going to influence our SKM and how this R factor takes us from SKM to ISLM. Okay. So now this AD was C plus I plus G. Now it is no longer C bar plus CY plus I bar plus G bar. Now this is equal to C bar plus small cy plus investment is going to be replaced by I bar minus B into R plus G bar. Okay, so this is going to be the demand function. Okay, now the SKM is a single variable model. अच्छा मैं एक सेकंड के लिए आपको 5 सेकंड कह रही हूँ 30 सेकंड्स का ब्रेक दे रही हूँ एक बार कम बैक बहुत शिफ्ट हो गया फ्रॉम वन टू अनदर कम बैक okay so we are back to SKM now SKM remains a single variable model you have y here on the x-axis and on the y-axis is function of y expenditure made okay so now what are the intercept? The intercept to the AD curve is still this, and this. They're all intercepts. So C bar plus I bar plus G bar minus BR. They are the intercept and the slope is still CY. Okay, so here I'm going to write C bar plus I bar plus G bar minus BR. That is what gives me the slope. Okay, and with the 45-degree aggregate supply curve, Y star is the equilibrium, right? So now what we are going to do is in the ISLM, I'm going to draw a curve, but the curve will have two variables, small r, which is the real rate of interest here, and small y, which is the real GDP here. And this curve is going to represent equilibrium in the goods market in two variables, r and y. Okay, not in one variable, in two variables, r and y. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this R naught. R naught is the initial market rate of interest. Okay, this initial market rate of interest corresponded to this Y star. And of course, they depend on many things. This output depends on many things, but we are just taking a combination that R naught and Y star is one combination of equilibrium. Okay, it is obviously dependent on C bar, I bar, G bar, and everything. But this is one combination of R and Y given the current situation. So given the current situation, R naught corresponds to, let's call this Y naught only. R naught corresponds to Y naught. Okay. Now, what happens if R increases? If R increases, R naught increases to R1. If R naught increases to R1, then what will happen? If R naught increases to R1, then what will happen? Investment will fall. If in R naught increases to R1, the intercept here will come down. If R naught increases to R1, investment will fall and intercept will come down. It will become lower. So the whole of the AD curve will shift down because now there will be a lower intercept, right? So it will be a parallel shift downwards because the intercept is now lower. R naught has increased to R1. So this will be a new intercept. This will be C bar plus I bar plus G bar minus B R1. So R1 is a lower line in the aggregate demand curve. And R1, so AD, let's call this AD0, this is AD1. AD1, when it intersects with aggregate supply, you get Y1. So the combination of R1 and Y1 is here. This is Y1 and this is, let's say Y1 here. So the combination of R1 and Y1 is here. What if R falls? It falls from R0 to R2. If R falls from R0 to R2, investment will actually rise. So there'll be an intercept which is higher. Right? So there'll be a higher intercept. Okay, so this is Y2. So R2 was lower, Y2 is higher, one line. So like this, if I join all these combinations of interest rate and equilibrium output in the goods market, what I get is a downward sloping